Always retain the ability to access your money when you need it without incurring penalties or triggering unnecessary tax. In this educational episode, I'm going to talk about the first key element of a prudent investment, which is liquidity. The ability to access your money when you need it without incurring all of these different penalties or triggering tax, because most Americans lack liquidity. When they need money the worst, it's the hardest to get. I'm going to show you where I put my serious cash for liquidity, safety, and earning a predictable rate of return. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for nearly 5 decades, helping thousands of people in America optimize their assets, minimize taxes, and empower what I call their authentic wealth. If you've watched very many of my educational videos on this channel, I'm very passionate about making sure that people like you can make the best choices for long-term goals such as retirement, maybe college funding for your kids and grandkids, or working capital for your business, or real estate management, emergency funds, and what have you. Well, the dream solution that passes the liquidity, safety, rate of return test, and tax advantage test with flying colors, without question, is a properly structured, maximum funded, indexed universal life insurance contract. If it is properly structured and maximum funded, it is deemed a laser fund. Laser is an acronym that I've used for years that stands for Liquid Asset Safely Earning Returns. And so in the book that I'm going to gift you at the end of this episode, so stay with me, you'll learn that when you structure this correctly, it knocks the socks off of traditional savings accounts for long-term goals like retirement over, IRAs and 401ks and the like, because it's totally tax-free. In 3 sections of the Internal Revenue Code, a properly structured laser fund accumulates your money totally income tax-free, but you can access your money all through your golden years, but you don't even have to wait till you retire. I have many business owners that use it like I do as a working capital account to access money without triggering tax because it's tax-free. And then at the end of the day, when you finally pass away, anything left in the account usually blossoms, increases in value, and transfers income tax-free to your heirs in the form of a tax-free death benefit transfer under Section 101A of the Internal Revenue Code. Now, this was the actual brainchild of E.F. Hutton back in 1980. And in the 1980s, the IRS went to Congress and made sure that we didn't overstep bounds and abuse the tax-free nature of these in the code. If you violate these tax citations, then it moves over to a taxable part of the code, which is investments that are usually taxed sooner or later, but also you usually are subject to volatility. Well, I don't want that. And so when I began to help people optimize their assets, it's usually helping them taking underperforming assets, money maybe in banks or credit unions that are earning pathetic rates of return that aren't even keeping up with inflation, or it could be real estate that is no longer producing a good rate of return. And so people just want to get out of the real estate, the rental property. They're tired of fixing toilets, evicting tenants, taking out the trash. Or maybe people begin to realize, golly, they've been saving money really well. And if you're a saver, you will likely not be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so they were duped into putting money into tax-deferred IRAs and 401ks, usually invested in the market. And then they realize they're going to be taxed to death all through their golden years. And they're going to pay more in tax. They're going to pay back 8 to 15 times the tax in their golden years that they saved during the contribution years. And that's not what they thought was going to happen. And so I've always been teaching people, when you want to optimize assets, you want to get money out of those IRAs or 401ks strategically, especially I would recommend 5 years. You start this 5 years before you retire. If you're already retired, it's not too late. The sooner you do it, the better. But you can strategically roll money out of those IRAs or 401ks, get the taxes over and done with, and reposition the money into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. Just because you're taking it out of your IRA or 401k doesn't mean you have to spend the money. You are increasing the liquidity, the safety, and the rate of return and the tax benefits whenever you reposition assets. You're optimizing assets and minimizing taxes when you sort of readjust or reposition assets where you currently have your money. I've always been very thrilled to show people the darkness of the night, so to speak, if they kept their money where it was at, and how fast they would likely outlive their money versus the brightness of their future if they would just reposition where those assets are held, and the brightness of their future, how long they will be able to live off of the same amount of income without running out of money. And people are always shocked by that. So there's a huge difference here. But in all of my books, I have authored 12 books thus far. I talk about the key elements of a prudent investment. Number 1 is liquidity. Number 2 is safety. Number 3 is earning a predictable rate of return. And number 4 are any tax benefits, which are icing on the cake. And so I like to have all of those. And so in my books, I have a scoring system, and that's what these 4 bars represent: liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. In this particular episode, I'm talking about the number 1 key element of a prudent investment: liquidity. And a properly structured, maximum funded indexed universal life insurance contract passes the liquidity test with flying colors. In other episodes, you'll learn that it passes safety, rate of return, and tax benefits also very well. But I set aside my serious cash so that I can access it without incurring penalties or tax. If you put money in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, good luck. If you need to access any of that money before the age of 59 and a half, you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty on top of the tax. So if you pull out that money and you have to report it in that tax year because you desperately needed money, you got laid off, or you became unemployed, you got disabled, whatever, there's a lot of reasons. Maybe you saw an investment opportunity. You grab money out of an IRA or 401k, that's going to probably force you into a higher tax bracket. And so you'll be paying out maybe a third in tax, but then you add another 10% on top of that. And people end up shelling out 40 to 50%. So if you pull out 10,000 or 100,000, you're going to be lucky to net 55 or 60,000 after tax and penalty. So you have to pull out 50% more money, or maybe double the amount of money. You have to go pull out almost 200,000 to net 100,000 after taxes and penalties. That's not liquid. Okay. So when I'm talking about liquidity, I want you to be able to access money, even with an electronic funds transfer or phone call, but without triggering tax or penalties. The same is true of real estate. A lot of real estate investors, they make the mistake of taking all their positive cash flow, their positive rental income, and applying it towards the mortgages, trying to get it paid off, thinking that's the smartest way to get out of debt. They don't realize, they don't do the math, that you can actually take that amount of money, and instead of paying it against your mortgage, you can put it over into a side fund like a property structured IUL, Indexed Universal Life Insurance Contract, a laser fund where I put my real estate cash flow money. And that is compounding tax-free at a rate of return usually triple the net cost of the mortgage. If I borrow money against my commercial real estate and I borrowed at 4.5% deductible interest, in a 33% bracket, it only costs me 3%. So every $1 million of mortgages, I'm paying $30,000 a year out of my pocket in interest, but I'm making a 9% or $90,000 a year in this tax-free. And it's compounding. You will actually have enough money in this laser fund to pay off those mortgages on your real estate 2.5 years faster than if you send the money against the mortgage. But the most important part is, if I put that money over in the laser fund and I get into trouble and I need money, I can just access that money. There's no tax or penalty. If I pull it out of the real estate, I have to refinance it. I have to prove there's a need why I should have it. And I've learned that when you need that money the worst, it's the hardest to get. So a lot of people don't realize that money invested in real estate, or money socked away in traditional IRAs or 401ks does not pass the liquidity test. You're going to have to incur penalties. You're going to trigger tax. You're going to have to refinance. You're going to have to qualify. Why do you want to do that? And so if you're concerned about having access to money, because when you lack liquidity, okay, that is the most important reason why a lot of people lose out, because they leverage without liquidity. Leverage without liquidity is stupidity. And so you always want to have your serious cash in a position where you can access it within 48, 72 hours or sooner if need be. It doesn't need to be a bank down on the corner with a drive-up window, because the banks and credit unions, they're paying pathetic rates of return. Put your money where banks and credit unions end up putting your money when you deposit it in them. And they disclosed in 2008 that they put 30 to 40% of their tier one assets for liquidity and safety in insurance companies. And they're paying you 1%. They turn around and make 5 or 6% conservatively. They don't even use the indexing strategies we do, where we're able to earn rates of return more like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11% on the average throughout the years. And so I want you to learn more about how to be able to have liquid access to your serious cash. It's the first key element of a prudent investment. And the laser fund will usually score somewhere between 8 to maybe 10 on liquidity. The ability to access that, if you put in $500,000 into a laser fund, you should be able to access probably 450,000 of that. Maybe if you're only funding it in compliance with IRS guidelines the first year, and so you're going to put in $500,000, but over 5 years to have tax-free access. This is a tax citation called TAMRA. You put in the first $100,000. If you needed money, well, you ought to go grab the money from the other $400,000 that you haven't put in here yet that's been earmarked. But if you needed some of that $100,000 you put in, you could go access 30, 40,000 of that 50,000. Rarely do people need to go access 100%, because this is a long-term strategy. You don't set it up like it's a put and take account. It's a put and keep account, but it's liquid if you need to access money. So if you want to see how one may apply in your particular set of circumstances, I would recommend that you study and maybe meet with a professional that can show you actual examples of how a properly structured indexed universal life insurance contract passes the liquidity test with flying colors, as well as the other 3 tests shown on the front of this book. So I'm going to recommend that you claim a free copy of this. It's been flying off of the warehouse shelves, and we send out usually around 500 of these a week. Now, it retails on Amazon for $20, and if you go buy it on Amazon and pay another $10 shipping and handling, thank you. But I'll gift you one free. So you simply go to laserfund, laserfund.com, or click on the link below. And when you go into that site, then you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require some skin in the game. I'll cover the rest of that cost, but I'll pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail. But when you're in there claiming your free copy, if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's audio and video formats. There's even an 18-hour masterclass if you want to do a super deep dive into this. But also, we teach regular educational webinars. They're free. You can register for one of those. And also, you could even schedule a time to talk to an IUL specialist that I have trained, I oversee. These are the top 0.1% of financial advisors who have taken the time to learn how to do it correctly. And with no cost or obligation, they'll create illustrations based upon your numbers, your circumstances, to see if a laser fund is a good vehicle for you for not only retirement, but maybe working capital for your business, real estate management, emergency funds, on and on and on. You'll see why it's my favorite financial vehicle.